I think Beterbiev beats him, and I hate to say it. Hate to say it, but
Pro boxing fans, we are here in Riyadh once again with my friend Ade Oladipo. Ade, it's always a pleasure seeing you, mate. Especially out when the sun's out.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in a good setting. How are you? How's things?
You know what? It's nice as well. The sun is out, but it's not as hot as it has been before. I think we're coming into winter in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy because when you say winter, we think of the UK and you think of snow and rain. Winter here just means it's calming down a little bit. So it's a nice day. It's a nice day. It's a nice week forecasted as well. So you're happy to be back.
It is a nice week, and at the end of this week, we've got the undisputed. And the fight, look, me and you we consider ourselves hardcore boxing fans.
Yeah.
And this is a fight that we've been looking forward to for years. It wasn't made for political reasons in the past. Now we've got Turkey Al Sheikh and Riyadh season, who have come a year later. Now we've got this fight. Talk to me about this one, man. Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol.
Yeah, this is everything, innit? This is everything that is good about boxing is this fight. I mean, you got two unbeaten Russians who know each other well, known each other since they were young kids. Obviously, Beterbiev, a senior in the Russian team, Bivol a junior. Both unbeaten, both without a shadow of a doubt number one and number two. Like, you can make your argument about who number three is. I don't even know who that is, but this is number one versus number two, no doubt. And there is a good debate as to who is number one and who is number two. I think you have to give it to Beterbiev because of what he's done, the resume. But in terms of a skill factor, some might say Bivol. So it's so intriguing. Honestly, it's so intriguing. And you're right. I mean, if it wasn't for Riyadh season, this probably wouldn't have happened. And even if it did happen somewhere else, say Canada on a top-ranked card, I think it's fair to say both fighters wouldn't have been getting the money they're getting paid to do it now. And they deserve to get paid for it because it is such a big fight. I think it's as big as Spence Crawford and Fury Usyk for different reasons. I can understand some people watching this saying, calm down, Ade. But just because it is number one versus number two, forget all the big sell of Fury Usyk and Spence Crawford. This is your two best. And the winner has to be in a conversation to be, I don't know, best of the last 25 years. I'm not going to go back 100 years, but the best of the last 25 years. And that means being up there with Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones, Kovalev, etc., etc. So it's a special fight.
So let's break this one down, because I do want to sort of talk about both sides. I want to talk about Artur Beterbiev. I was with his trainer yesterday, did an interview with Mark Ramsey. Fantastic interview, fantastic person. And I asked him first of all about the Soviet style. We know Bivol's, he's become viral with this style, and obviously look online and there's fluidity in his feet, in his hands. And I asked his trainer, listen, have you seen this before yourself? And secondly, what does Artur make of it? He goes, listen, Artur's trained with this when he was younger, so it's nothing new to him. He knows how to battle this. Do you feel like, first of all, the question is that Bivol's style troubles Artur Beterbiev?
To an extent, his style is fantastic, but it's not like he hasn't seen that style before. Maybe not in his 20 pro fights, but in his 200 plus amateur fights, he would have seen someone like Bivol. Again, there would have been someone similar to Bivol in that Russian camp growing up. But it's one thing seeing the style and having an amateur fight where you're going 3 or 4 rounds against that style. It's another thing having 12 rounds against that style, right? And you're more likely to see a Beterbiev style than a Bivol style. So I can imagine Bivol getting sparring partners to mimic Beterbiev's easier than Beterbiev getting sparring partners to mimic Bivol.
Okay.
So, yeah, they would have seen each other's styles. But again, they know each other so well. Bivol, they sparred each other. I don't know if they sparred each other as pros, but they certainly have shared the ring as amateurs. So they know each other. I mean, they would have watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of tape on each other. And this is a pride thing as well. Yeah, they're both from Russia, but very different Russians. Very different parts of Russia as well. So, dude, there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake here. For Beterbiev, if you lose and you're 39, could that be that? If he wins, could he then jump up to fight upper tier at cruiserweight? Could Alexander Usyk come down? He's mentioned coming down. For Bivol, if you win, do you then go straight into Canelo fight and make millions? Canelo said he wants to run it with Bivol again. So it's so much more than undisputed. There's so many other little tangibles that make this what it is. And that's why I say it's as big as Fury Usyk and as big as Spence Crawford, because there are so many other little bits to it as well.
Is momentum a big thing into this? Because we look at Beterbiev's last few fights and look, Anthony Yarde was a great fight, but the way he sort of went through a little bit of adversity and then just sort of won that fight, broke Anthony's heart.
Broke Anthony.
Yeah,
broke Anthony.
It was a massive performance by Anthony Yarde. Let's
100%.
say that. Callum Smith, going into that fight, I interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of people are saying, listen, Callum's going to beat Artur Beterbiev. And honestly, that was a fantastic performance from Beterbiev. So his momentum against good level fighters has been very, very good.
Solid.
Bivol, on the other hand, now I speak to people about Bivol and they're like, listen, Malik Zinad, that fight, it wasn't the best. Lyndon Arthur wasn't the best again. Do you feel like momentum coming into this fight will play part?
Yeah, but on both sides.
Okay.
Momentum with Bivol just because he's had a fight.
Yeah, true.
Say what you want, but he's been through a training camp and he had a good, 6 rounds against Malik Zinad, and he would have taken confidence for stopping him. Yeah, people will say it's only Malik Zinad, but just stopping someone, he will take confidence because he's been critiqued a lot for not stopping people. The problem with Beterbiev's momentum is that it's always stop, start. Like, he had the Yarde fight, got injured.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? There's been injuries, and then the Callum Smith fight got pulled back, and then he got into the ring against Callum Smith, and now this one scheduled, got injured. So it's almost like it looks great when you look at the resume, like, wow, Yarde, Callum Smith, Bivol. But it's been Yarde, stop, injury. Callum Smith, stop, injury, Bivol. So there's been momentum in terms of better opponents and high-level opponents, but there's always a stop-start thing with Beterbiev, which I don't know. I mean, surely it has to get to a stage where your body is 39, you've had a knee injury, and it starts to affect you. Even though he looks like a machine, surely it gets to a point where it takes its toll. I'm probably saying this as a Bivol fan. I'm hoping that could be the case, but I don't know, man. He's a machine. He lives the life. You speak to his trainer. He doesn't drink. He sleeps at a certain time, wakes up a certain time. I don't know, dude. He's a scary man, but his momentum has been a bit strange.
Going off what you just said, I spoke to his trainer about this, and he said, mate, the guy is so regimented that even people in the gym look up to him as a captain. Like, he doesn't want to be a captain, but they look to him as a captain. For example, Christian Billy, who's absolutely making waves in the super middleweight, could be fighting Canelo at some point possibly. Even he started to sort of look at Artur Beterbiev. So there is that level. Finally, on this fight, how do you see the fight playing out? I know it's difficult, but what sort of scenarios go through your head about this fight?
I've had so many. I've had a scenario where Beterbiev just flatlines him. Honestly, where Bivol tries to engage and Beterbiev just shuts him down immediately because he is so strong and he's massive for the weight. I spoke to him yesterday and I said, you're big for the weight. And he's like, I'm not big. I said, dude, you're big. And the reason I said he was big because a few minutes before he came to speak to me, Bivol came to speak to me. So I could now size him up perfectly. And whereas Bivol was kind of my height and not too much bigger, Beterbiev was a bit taller and I could see he was a bit wider. The problem for that Bivol has is that Beterbiev power lasts the full 12 rounds. Like, I mean, he would knock you out in round 11 as well as knocking you out in round 1. So Bivol could be clear on all the scorecards going into round 12 and just your lights get shut out. Or Bivol, and I think he's going to have to do this, he's going to have to at one stage stand his ground and fight and get respect from Beterbiev. He did that against Canelo. Canelo obviously is not the size of Beterbiev, but there was a time when he put Canelo on the back foot and showed that he does have a bit of power, and Canelo was like, okay, maybe I can't come into this wheelhouse. Maybe I've got to kind of fight on the back foot a little bit. Bivol has to dent Beterbiev. He has to make Beterbiev respect the power. If not, Beterbiev's just going to walk through him. If Beterbiev starts to take those punches and thinks those punches are pillow fist, Bivol's got 12 rounds of dancing. 12 rounds of moving his feet, and that's a long time against Beterbiev. So as much as I think Bivol can do that, I think there will be a time when Beterbiev catches up to him and lands, and it's a case of, can Bivol take that power? Can he take, because it is power, 20 wins, 20 knockouts, that's not normal. That isn't fluke. That's genuine power in both hands, right and left. So Bivol's got a problem. Look, I'm Team Bivol, but I think Beterbiev's going to win because he's fought the better opposition. He's put to sleep the better opposition. Everyone has a fighting style, then eventually he makes you fight in his style. So I think Beterbiev beats him, and I hate to say it. Hate to say it, but I think Beterbiev can get the job done.
If people don't know the story, they should actually go probably on your social media and see why you like Bivol so much. I know he gave you a jacket and everything, so
I love it.
There's a story between you and Bivol.
So for me to say it,
I know
it's a big thing because I want him to win, but Malik Zinad and Lyndon Arthur, ain't no Beterbiev. And again, you look at Beterbiev's fall. I mean, he's fighting really good guys. Marcus Brown was a really good guy. Alexander Vozdik, fantastic fighter, Olympic gold medalist. Joe Smith at the time, strong, big puncher. Yard, Callum Smith, these are really, really good fighters. And he destroys them. He honestly, he outmans them all. So I don't know, man.
Interesting, when I spoke to Mark Ramsey, I said to him, what was that one fight that you felt all the pieces in the jigsaw were put together? And he said Alexander Vozdik.
Mate, that's the one.
That was the one, man.
Because Vozdik came as, you know, that Ukrainian school with Loma and Loma and Alexander Usyk. So he came to that ring as the WBC champion, who, let's not forget, destroyed Adonis Stevenson. You know what I mean? Put Adonis Stevenson out of boxing. So he came with his own power. So it was power and boxing versus power and boxing, and he got to him. Vozdik was doing well in that fight, and eventually he just got to him. Scary dude, scary guy, and he's scary to you.
He's focused, man. He's
so
doesn't
focused.
Give much away.
No, but he's the hardest person to interview in the world. No wonder you interviewed his trainer.
I interviewed him yesterday. I got a minute from him.
Did you get a bit out of him?
I got a minute, 1 minute. Where?
1 minute.
Look, he's probably the most regimented, focused guy I've seen in boxing. So.